And we're back with the last guest when she comes back on, and I'll wait for a few other people to come in. As I say, on Thursday night, we've got another special. All questions for Ems are more than happy for you to say when she comes back on. Thank you to the three guests who have come on tonight, been unbelievable. Thank you very much for all coming on. Next Monday again, we have four fantastic guests again. It's an all-women show, which I'll be announcing later on in the week. Let me get Ems on. Hello, Ems.
Hello, Jamie.
How are you?
Yeah, you've only kept me waiting an hour. My anxiety's good.
Well, Ali wanted to drag it out a little bit more.
Oh, yeah. I remember that, Ali. Don't you worry.
But yeah, no. For everyone what doesn't know you, obviously, let them know who you are and what you do.
I'm Ems. I'm the first team phys at Phoenix Sports, and I've been involved in non-league football for 10 years. And yeah, that's basically my story. My day job is I'm an SENTA at a primary school.
Yeah. So obviously we're in the same field because I'm at SEN school as well. So we can touch on obviously that in a little bit as well. With that and obviously in education as well. But I know that you wanted to. First things, obviously, I asked the first question. What does mental health mean to you?
It's really funny because I think sometimes mental health gets forgotten. People always see your physical fitness, and they bang on about how you should be a size 6 and blah 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 and all this. And sometimes I find when you bang on too much about people's physical health and their physical appearance, you can affect their mental health. And mental health to me is about how you feel in yourself, and it's about feeling okay. And it's not about getting up every day and achieving greatness. It's about getting through the day. That's me. Like, it's about getting out of bed and just getting through the day.
100%. I know you wanted to touch on a little bit, just some of obviously the things what people may not know about you and in general. Obviously, you can be as open as you want and what you don't want to, and we can ask questions along the way if you
Yeah,
want.
go on.
So I don't know if you want to obviously open up a little bit about what mental health has touched you in general.
So it's not very common, but I've struggled with my mental health for many, many years. And I used to be really ashamed of it. I used to think, can't talk about it. No one will listen. It was awful. And then I met this woman called Dorothy. She was my therapist back home in Ireland, and between her and football, that saved my life. And it really, really did. I took myself out to a woods one day with a bottle of sleeping pills and a bottle of vodka. And that was it. I was like, this is it. I can't do it anymore. And my friend happened to ring me, and me, being completely distracted, picked the phone up. She's like, where are you? I was like, and I'm really bad at lying. Anyone that knows me knows I'm shit at lying. So she knew straight away something was wrong. She came and got me, brought me straight to the GP's, and the GP said to me, there's not more I can do for you. You need to get professional help.
Mm.
I don't know if the GP was saying he wasn't a professional, but he he said you need professional help, and he said you have to go on antidepressants. And that was my biggest fear, being reliant on medication. I know in my field, being a sports therapist, medication is part of it, but being reliant on medication just gave me a whole new level of anxiety. So I struck a deal with my GP. I said I'll go on him for 6 months and see how we go. So between 6 months of antidepressants and 6 months of therapy, I was doing really, really well. So I made another deal with my doctor, and we got to 12 months of therapy and 12 months of antidepressants. And I have to say, I haven't looked back. And it wasn't a success story by any means, as in that was it. When I moved to London, obviously it was a massive move. I'd left all my friends at home. Work was awful. I was living with my boyfriend's parents while we were saving for a house. It just wasn't where I wanted to be. So
Yeah.
I found myself kind of back at the start, back on antidepressants, back in counselling. But I didn't look on it this time as a failure. I looked on it as I just need a hand. Like, I just needed a little bit of help. And 6 months later, I was involved in non-league football. I was off my antidepressants and I wasn't involved in therapy anymore. And I think there's a massive taboo around therapy, and I wish people would really not have that taboo because it's fantastic. My friends were amazing. They were absolutely top drawer, and they never turned their back on me. They never said to me like, "Oh, what have you got to be depressed about? Cheer up." Never had any of that. But there comes a stage in your life where your friends become your cheerleaders, and no matter what's going on in your life, they'll back you. And sometimes that's not really helpful. Sometimes you need an impartial party to just say, look, this is what's going on. And that's why I really encourage people to, number one, take the first step to talk to your friends. And number two, once you kind of get to a stage with your friends where you'll say, I don't feel like they're helping me anymore. And that's when you seek therapy and seek a therapist, because they'll be the friend you thought you'd never have, and they're impartial. And yeah, I can't recommend it highly enough. It saved my life. And so did football. Football saved my life.
No, obviously, Ems, thank you for opening up with that. It's like a great story, obviously, to open eyes to other people that you've gone through that, and you can open up and say, as you say, you've shared your experiences with that. So, sorry, Frankie Timmerman said, Ems, such a powerful character, great girl, loudest physio on a match day by far. Stony Timmerman said, love that, Ems. A lot of people are obviously saying thanks for sharing and opening up. Alias Perman said, how are you so amazing? I need to learn from you.
No way, man. She's a top girl. She's a top biz. I've known her a long, long time.
No, obviously touching on obviously the story you just turned around and said, Stony Timmerman said she is crazy.
Yeah, I can see that, Stony. I'll remember that next time you're on the table.
So, obviously, you've been in a lot of dressing rooms, and it's something obviously we've turned around and touched on. With obviously the industry we're in. Do you feel it's hard for a male point of view to open up about maybe what they've gone through, or if they've got struggles?
Yeah, 100%. And I think men get a lot of slack, but equally women get the same. So people always say like, "Oh, men don't talk enough," and and then on the opposite hand, they're like, "Oh, women talk too much. You've too much to say for yourself." Blah blah blah. But it's like it can be the opposite end of the spectrum where people really close off, and especially when you say to some, like if someone comes in with a genuine problem and someone says, "Oh, man up," that's it, game over. They've gone back into their shell, and you don't know how much damage you're doing to people. And when I started in non-league many, many, many moons ago, my manager said to me, physio is the most important person on the team. And I was like, yeah, all right, mate, I know you want me to come in Tuesday night to train and it's freezing cold. And he was right, because what happens is players trust you, players learn to trust you. And they know that no matter what you say, what they say to you, you have no power over there Saturday. So if they come to you and say, I'm really down in the dumps, if I don't my missus, or I went out last night, got smashed because work is getting on top of me, blah blah blah. You have no power over whether they play or not on a Saturday. Where I think sometimes they feel if they open up to their manager, it's judgment. It's like, we shouldn't have gone out last night. Oh, we've had her out your missus, your head's not in the game. Whereas I think if they feel they have someone to offload to, i.e. the physio, who has no power over anything, that's their vent, that's their release. And I think it helps on a Saturday. It helps for a player to turn around and go, do you know what, I've shared, I feel better, and then go out and play. Or they might turn around and go, you know what, I'm really not feeling it, and then you can deem them unfit. But what I think is really important, and Ali, and I'm sure all the girls who've been on here tonight will agree with me, you can't mess with a player's trust. So if a player trusts you and confides in you, that's it. You are like a solicitor, you're like a lawyer, that goes no further. Because if you start running to the manager and running to the management team or even to the captain, you've lost the dressing room and you can't really get it back. So you need to be like, people see me and, oh, you're loud, you're leery, but I know secrets about players that I would never, I'm going to take to my grave with me. And I think that's why players will happily come into the physio room and offload.
Yeah, 100%. Caroline, who obviously was on earlier, thanks for sharing your experiences. Yeah, no, with obviously touching on it now, obviously with COVID-19, it's going to be, I feel, obviously, a lot of people could have struggled throughout this with lockdown and not seeing their family or friends. What do you feel from the government, from in the world, or even within football, we can do more? Do we have to do campaigns to push like for mental health, or
Um,
what do you feel?
I don't know that we need to look to the government or even the FA. Now, everyone's got different views on this, but I
Mm,
think, and everyone says, oh, you have to start from the top, like the Premiership have to take the lead and all this. And I heard you guys talking earlier, and you were saying a bit like the DFIBs, like Fabrice Mwamba.
mm,
It took that for the FA to give DFIBs to the
yeah,
non-league players. But I think everyone's forgetting Gary Speed took his own life, and Gary Speed was at the top of his game,
true,
and no one
true.
stepped in and went, right, mental health, we need to sort this.
Mm,
It's just like it got forgotten about pretty quickly, and
mm.
Justin Fashanu took his own life, and that got rolled under the carpet massively,
I
even
said
by
it
his
the
own
other day,
family.
and I said it the other day as well. To be fair, I didn't think about football, which is funny because I didn't realise it until you just said it now. But I was saying it the other day about even the Caroline Flack, which is the most recent and high
Yeah.
profile, if we're
Mm-hmm.
being honest. And no one speaks about it now. No, no, it was pushed under the carpet quite fast,
The
really.
thing is, the media take a story, whether it's good or bad, and they run with it, and they don't give a shit about the repercussions.
No,
As my dear old mum says, paper never refuses ink. And if you want to write a lie about someone, you see it on Twitter all the time. You see it on Facebook, Instagram, in the newspapers, on the news. Paper never refuses ink. And if someone wants to write something horrible about you, they will. And the thing is, they made, I know it's a bit off topic of football, but they
no,
made an example of Caroline Flack, because if that had been a man who had physically assaulted a woman, he would have been dragged across the coals. So I think they felt they needed to make an example of her, and no one's ever going to know the truth. I think what you have to remember is you need to, there's three sides to every story. There's my side, your side, and the truth. And we're
yeah,
never going to know the truth about Caroline Flack's story, because
no,
whether her PR team paid her boyfriend to say, you were the model couple and you were in love and nothing happened, or whether nothing happened, or whether it was a genuine mistake, no one's ever going to know, unfortunately. And the
no.
thing is, it turned into a media circus, and that poor girl saw no other way out. And that's the sad thing, because it's left her family completely destroyed. And it's the same with football. I mean, I shouldn't attack it because I don't know the ins and outs of it. But John Fashanu admitted paying his brother to keep quiet about being gay, and it obviously got too much for him. And the poor chap ended up ending his own life.
Yeah,
Things
hundred
should
percent.
never get to that stage, and
No,
it's just. I think what you need to remember is, especially if you're in a dark place and you're thinking, "Oh God, no one's going to listen," someone will always listen. And it's like Ali said, if anyone on here is like, "Oh, I'm really struggling," please feel free to reach out and contact me. I don't mind. I'll always listen. And I think it's just a case of I would rather listen to someone's problems than
yeah,
listen to how they died.
100%. Ali just said it. That was my fault. Ems, Re, Fash at stroke speed. We need to keep shouting.
It just gets forgotten about, which is really sad. Like, people will talk about Wayne Rooney cheating on a hooker 15 years ago, and people will talk about like players robbing each other, or like John Terry shagging all his mates' wives.
Yeah,
They seem to forget the depths of all this and the carnage it leaves behind. And it happens at every level of football, but
Yeah.
it leaves behind a trail of absolute destruction in when you're in the spotlight. And like people say, oh, the Premier League, they've got nothing to worry about. They can't breathe without being told how to breathe, or they're doing
No,
it wrong.
of course. Yeah.
So
No. Touching on that, do you feel in education within schools, and also obviously maybe from the top to the bottom, or just in non-league in general, do you feel there should be a lot more courses, or you should be more educated to be able to help from a younger age?
yeah, I think so. And I remember seeing Keith on here a few weeks ago, Keith
Yeah.
Benass, and
Yeah.
he was saying like it should be like the emergency first aid. There should be a day course or a few hours at least where you touch on mental health. Not even that you're able to solve it, but that you can just see the signs. And I remember a few months ago, there was a guy on Twitter. People will probably know him. He's a coach, Steve Salas. He was advertising a free course that you could do on mental health, and I think it took like 6 weeks, but it was home learning and stuff. So
Yeah.
there are resources out there that aren't going to cost the world and they're not going to take a lot of time. But it's just finding the right people. Like, there's no point in saying to managers, like my manager or like Ali's manager or anyone, going, you need to take a course in mental health, because on match days everyone's got so much going on that the manager is the last person a player is going to bother.
Yeah.
So I think it needs to be the physio, the coach, the kit man even. Like, people will confide in the kit man, people will confide in the physio. They are not going to walk up to a manager on match day and go, feeling a bit down in the dumps.
Yeah.
So I think it's important that it's more of a management team effort than just looking at the manager.
Yeah, 100%. Sorry, Geordie's just wrote, great question, that Jamie. I think more should be done on education across non-league stroke in the classroom, etc. We will 100%, 150% as a club put on mental health workshops. Well done speaking about this. And cheers, Geordie. Thank you. And obviously, Ems and all the other guests on tonight as well, speaking about it. And as I say, if this helps one person over the I worked it out the other day. By the time I get to August, I would have had 100 guests on. So if
That's fantastic.
if one person can help overall, one other person, that's a success. You know what I mean? With what we're doing, obviously, and thinking of that, obviously, you turned around and said about football and the counsellor basically saved your life. Do you feel you got to find the focus or the person that can help you?
Yeah, so there's a lot. I know this is going to sound so like airy fairy and so like LA, but like you will find you'll go to a counselor and you might not gel and you might not like each other and you might like you might think they haven't got my best interests at heart, and that's fine. Try another one. Don't give
Yeah.
up. Don't try one and go, that shit didn't work. Try another one. And there's loads of free resources. If you look on like Kent County Council, even like join websites.
Yeah.
Look on websites. There's free counselling. You don't have to lay out loads of money for it. Like, if you want to go private, and you'll probably find a lot of you guys will have it through work. It'll probably be part of your work healthcare. So and I know now offices as well and jobs and like places of employment are really hot on mental health as well, because they have to be. So do a little bit of research. You don't have to just go out, find the most expensive counsellor out there and do that. Just go do a little bit of research, talk to friends. Now, sometimes if you've got a really good counsellor, they will not take on your friend because there's a conflict of interest. If you start talking about each other, it will colour their thinking. But if you found, like, I've got a list as long as my arm of counsellors. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but it's just networking. It's just finding people, and it's just finding people that work for you. And it might be your next door neighbour. It might be your kit man. It might be the physio. It might be the team coach. You just have to talk to someone. And the thing is, if someone comes and talks to you, and you're trying to make light of it, don't.
Yeah.
It's like someone dying and you're going, oh, the good life. It's not
Mm.
like, don't make light of it. Just listen. You have 2 ears for a reason. Just
Yeah.
listen. You don't have to answer them, and you don't have to come out with, oh yeah, my neighbor had that very same. Just don't try and compare it. All mental health issues are different. All signs of depression are different. So don't try and be like, oh yeah, I heard that before, or try and relate to it. And even if someone comes to me, and players have come to me and said to me, I stood on the edge of a bridge the other day, I was going to kill myself. I didn't turn around and go, yeah, I sat in a car and had a bottle of pills and a bottle of vodka.
Yeah.
It's not helpful. It's
No.
absolutely not helpful. So just listen. And if you feel it's too much for you to take on, then just say to them, look, I've got a few options here for you. Or, you don't have to be Mother Teresa. You don't have to save their lives, but you do have to listen.
No, 100%. Um, Obviously, as you just turned around and said, it is finding, as you say, it's finding the right person to speak to. Also, the person obviously talking back or listening. It's listening, and if you haven't got the answers, as you say, yeah, put them on to somebody who may have the answers, or saying, look, I haven't got the answers at the moment. I can maybe put you forward to somebody who has, or I can educate myself and come back to them maybe with an answer, or just keep on talking to them and say, look, as long as you're talking and opening up, that's helping them, that person who may be having that struggle. Within obviously the stereotype has always been there over mental health throughout the years. Do you feel it has got better in football or in the world?
Yeah, it's getting there. I mean, it's in football, it's a bit of a funny one because it's a bit like people who are gay, like men or women who are gay in football and don't want to tell people. I think it's the same with mental health, but mental health is getting better. It is improving, even if it's only slightly. It is improving, and like I say, it doesn't have to start from the top. It can start in your club. It can start in your dressing room, and like you can show other people what you're doing. Like Geordie just said, he'll happily host a workshop. We all go to Erith and Belvedere. It hasn't started in Man City. It started in Erith and Belvedere, and it's spread through the Kent League, which is
Yeah.
fantastic. You don't have to wait for someone else to do it and go, oh well, Liverpool are champions and they haven't done anything about it. Start yourself and be the confident when you're like Ali will probably agree with me and the other girls will probably agree with me. When you're treating a player, how's your day been? Like be easy to talk to, be approachable. I'm not always approachable, let's be honest, on match day. I'm normally like a bear with a sore head. But just be approachable, be there. Like if they come into training and they're not right, just be like, you're right. Like, but don't do it in front of everyone. Maybe just go, oh, can I have a word? And like let them hang back. Or like there was a guy, I'm not going to mention the team because it'll be very apparent who it was.
Yeah.
But he just wasn't on his game. He was just really, really off, and things weren't right. So instead of drawing the attention to everyone in the dressing room, I called him aside one day. I was like, "Oh, can I have a look at your hamstring?" And he was like, "Oh, okay." So I brought him into the physio room, treated him, and I was like, "What's wrong? Like, you're not right. You're absolutely not right." And he said to me, he was like, I can't get out of bed some days. I am literally thinking about throwing myself out in front of a truck." And I was like, "Holy shit." And
Yeah.
when you open that can of worms, you can't turn around and be like, "Uh-oh." You have to be
Okay.
like, "Okay, why?" And just see how they go from there. So yeah, it's like it's just a case of not of being open and having your ears open and listening. That's basically it. And not saying to someone, like telling someone with depression or mental health issues to man up or to cheer up is like asking a blind
Yeah.
person to look harder. It's not going to work.
It's not going to work. No, 100%. Obviously, going forward, obviously
I'm
we've
reading
meant.
Ali's comment and
Yeah,
he's
I know.
laughing.
No, I've read it. I've read it as well. Um, Obviously, within obviously football and in the world in general, obviously, we touched on it with COVID-19 and everything like that. Um, but do you feel that somebody who maybe have gone through mental health could help um, with more awareness at times. Obviously, you've got to have the specialists and everything like this. I've touched on it with sometimes. So, from my point of view, I turned around and said I've spoken about my dad, obviously going through a lot of mental health things before Christmas 2 years ago, and I felt like the aftercare wasn't great for him. That's from my point of view. Obviously, everyone's aftercare is different,
Yeah.
but I still feel now that he was like he was in there for 5 6 months, like he was sectioned 5 or 6 months, and then afterwards he was put on tablets, and then when he was going through a couple of dark times, I would ring up and turn around and say, well, he's going through these moments, he's not very well, etc., and stuff like that at the present time. And they would say, okay, we'll look at his medication, and they may change his medication, and that's it. uh, and unless we ring them saying that, it's like, well, that's it. You know what I mean? Like, there's no aftercare. Do you feel that it should be, from obviously your point of view, it might be something else, but if somebody's going through that like that, do you feel the aftercare should be better, maybe?
Yeah, well, I think it obviously depends on the severity of the mental health issue. Like,
Mm.
obviously, your dad was a lot more severe than me. He was sectioned.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of people in football who would like to see me sectioned, but your dad was your dad was obviously a more severe case.
Mm.
Then, like, no mental health case is going to be the same. So
No.
I think if you're compass mentis or of sound mind when you approach a doctor or a professional,
Mm.
like when I did mine, I went in there going, right, 6 months, that's it. I'm off these tablets in 6 months. And
Yeah.
I think that's what you need to have in your head. Like, obviously, some people are not in that frame of mind at all. They are
No.
gone past the point to rescue.
Yeah.
But what I think is important is if you're a family member and you see this happening, I think what you need to do is not ignore it, get them the help they need, and then when you see them improve and start to come back to themselves,
Mm.
start to say, like, what can we do? So rather than depending on the NHS because they're on the floor as it is, and especially now with COVID, I mean, even with my operation,
Mm.
it's just they are on their hands and knees, and it's
Yeah.
not that you're not a priority or they don't want to help you,
Mm.
they don't have the resources. And Ali will probably agree with me. She works the NHS. She's a first hand. But
Yeah.
I think it's important that as a family and as friends, you just do that little care plan yourself, and just keep checking in with it. And like Ali said, writing stuff down is really important. If I don't compartmentalize stuff, my head would physically explode.
Yeah.
Because when I was going through my therapy, like, people always say to me, "No way were you on antidepressants. No way were you depressed. No way. Like, you're so
Mm.
loud. You're so outgoing." But I was diagnosed with high functioning anxiety. So on the surface, nothing's wrong. Life's great. In my head, it's like a circus. There's
Yep.
it's like a fair
Well,
ground.
that's what I mean. It's what we said, like me, Ali, obviously everyone said it. You can't see mental health.
Nope.
So it's like,
Sometimes you can. Sometimes it's as obvious as the nose on your face. People are
mm.
really down. Their body language is shocking. They've lost interest in everything. They're not getting out of bed. Their appetite goes.
Mm.
That kind of stuff. But sometimes people are the complete opposite, and life
Mm.
goes on, and everything's normal, and everything's grand. But
No.
deep down, everything is an absolute shambles. Like, you can't get out of bed in the morning. You don't want to get out of bed. When your phone rings, you have a minor panic attack. It's so the levels of mental health are so different that I think people really need to be just aware that it's not always going to be someone walking around in a black hoodie with their head down crying all the time. It could be the life and soul of the party. It could be someone who's normally the life and soul of the dressing room, and then one day they're not, and it's really noticeable, but sometimes it's not.
No. Cheers. Cheers, Courtney. Yeah. Sorry, the Turk. He's SE Don's fan, so he probably was on here because of Ali as well.
Ali, yeah.
But cheers. Cheers. Thanks a lot for that. No, obviously, obviously, well, Geordie turned around and said about workshops, etc., and I feel I've spoken to other people about this, and obviously they've turned around and said the specialists are great sometimes, but then other people, as you touched on, don't get on with a specialist, and sometimes it may help. From my point of view, is you can't beat that life experience. So somebody sharing their story, like yourself, or maybe my dad, or somebody who, like myself, who's been around the mental health. I might not have gone through it, but I'm sharing my experiences of what my dad's gone through and what he's passed on, etc. Sometimes you can't beat that as well as having a specialist around. Is that something what you feel should be put out there with sharing experiences, maybe to
Yeah,
people?
100%. Like, I mean, you can, like I said, no mental health case is the same. No mental health issue is the same. No one's level of depression is the same. No one's level of anxiety is the same. So what you need to be careful of is not to try and relate to it, not be like, oh yeah, I was very same. Just be an ear, be a listening ear, because you can relate to it, but just don't try and, compare it, because it's not going to be the same at all. I work with a lady and she suffers really badly with anxiety. And I never ever say to her, I know what you're going through. And I was like, how are you feeling? Because it's
Yeah.
different. And it's not me trying to be like, I'm a professional, I know what I'm talking about. I absolutely don't know what I'm talking about. And like I say, at the time that kid came to me and said to me, oh, I want to sling myself out under a truck. I wanted to sling myself. I was like, oh my God, but you have to just be straight poker face. Okay, no problem. And you it's like Ali says, when you're on the pitch and somewhat like you're treating a serious injury, your anxiety is sky high. Can you show the player? Absolutely not. But there's games and days, training days and match days and pre-season where I've seen injuries that I'm thinking, shit, is this the end of their career? Is this the end of them playing football? And I've gone home and cried, or I've gone home and vomited. One or the, depending on the level of the injury. But when you're at football, people are like, "Oh my God, like you're so good and you're so brave." But you're like, no, I've gone home and cried my eyes out. Or I've gone home and stuck my head in the toilet because my stomach was turning. And I'm sure Ali can relate to that, although she's a bit tougher than I am.
Yeah. Last question, Ems, and I'll let you go.
Sorry.
Obviously, it's the same. No, it's all fine. The same as everyone else. What do you feel people can do if you know somebody who's struggling with mental health? Also, going forward, what do you feel people can do to show awareness of mental health and your overall thoughts, obviously, on mental health?
So what we can do, I think, as being involved in football, so coaches like yourself, being involved with the six side, all that kind of stuff, me being a physio, even players, captains. I think what you need to do is just be someone can confide in. Don't be the team gossip. Don't be the one that's going, oh my God, guess what Jamie just told me. Be the one who they know, right, I'm going to speak to Ems and it's going to go no further. And sometimes like that's really hard to know people's secrets and to know some stuff they tell you, you're like, I really don't want to know that, because you may know someone who's affected by it.
Yeah.
But you just need to be the confident. You just need to be the person that they know they can trust. And trust is a massive thing with mental health. Trust is so huge. And if someone doesn't trust you, they are not going to talk to you about anything, let alone mental health. So I think it's just really important to build rapport with someone, with your team, with your players, with your coaches, whatever, and just be a listening ear, and don't be like, this is awful. I call it two shits. You know, the one who has to do one better than you.
Yeah.
Like if you've gone to Tenerife, they've gone to 11 Reef. You know, that kind of situation. Don't be that person who compares their story and say, oh yeah, I had that, but mine was worse. Just be a listening ear for people. Just be there, like I say, be there confident, be someone they can confide in. I think that's so important, because it can be the difference between someone getting help and someone struggling.
100%. Ems, thank you very much, obviously, for sharing your story. We'll catch up real soon. Thank you very much for that,
Thanks for having me,
Ems.
Jamie. Thanks
That's
to
okay.
everyone who listened to me rambling on.
No, I'm sure it's helped open people's eyes up as well. So that's what we're doing this live for. You know what I mean? So thank you very much, Ems.
Thanks, Jamie.
Cheers. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye. So cheers, Ems, again. As I say, thank you for obviously sharing your story. Ali for coming on tonight. Also Georgia and also Caroline. All four great guests. Neil, I know you've just come in, mate, but it was just finished. So have a look back on the YouTube to anyone who's just come in or missed any of this tonight. Mental health hashtag Let Us Talk. I've really enjoyed it from tonight, hearing some great experiences and views from a woman's point of view. But make sure you go back and watch it, as I say, on the YouTube. Mental health hashtag Let Us Talk. Neil, hopefully your car's sorted, but definitely go back and watch it, and I'll recommend it to anyone to have a watch. Hopefully I'm back on Thursday. As I say, I've got to confirm a guest. If not, then I'll be back next week on Monday with another four guests, four women again, hearing their views and experiences on mental health. Frankie, thank you. Great show, mate. Really great insight to some different experiences. Cheers. Thanks, mate. We'll catch up soon, hopefully. Everyone be safe. If you need to talk to me or you talk to anyone who's been on the show tonight, they're more than happy. Thanks to you as well, Ems. Not thanks to me, mate. So yeah, I'll see you hopefully on Thursday at 8:30. If not, it'll be next Monday. I'll advertise it at 8 o'clock again. Everyone keep safe. And that's me finished for tonight. See you later. Bye.